Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the 7 Minutes to Better Sell podcast. I'm your host, Colin Lake. As some of you know, I'm the president and founder of Developing the Next Leaders. And we'll talk a bit more about that as we progress through the conversation. I'll do a brief logistics reminder, and then we'll bring in our guest speaker. So from a logistics perspective, although the title says 7 Minutes to Better Selling podcast, these live conversations last anywhere from 7 to last week's was about 15 minutes. And then we go back to the drawing board after the call and we narrow it down to these 7 minutes for easy pull out of concepts and ideas to immediately implement into your practice. So with that in mind, I'm going to welcome a very good friend of mine, a colleague, confidant, and a guy I've known for 15 years, Gary Baker. Gary is the CEO of Undivided Wealth. Undivided Wealth is a very successful registered investment advisory firm in the Midwest, based in St. Louis. And if I just left it there, it'd be pretty impressive that, the firm has done some amazing things for some amazing people. But this firm, Undivided Wealth, is something so much more than that. And it's because their leader, Gary Baker, who we have on here, thinks so differently and so much bigger than so many. So Gary, welcome.
Thanks, buddy. Great to be with you as always.
Yeah, great to see you, G. I'm really appreciative you're here. Okay, so Gary, I'm going to give a setup thought, and then I'll ask you a question. Sound good?
Perfect. Bring it on.
All right. So the sales industry, and more specifically the financial services sales industry, continues to come under pressure. One of the reasons why is people continually just try and share information with one another versus a better way to use that information. That's one of the ways that we suggest. So what's one of the ways we suggest to solve this problem? So Developing the Next Leaders is busy researching and talking to folks like yourself, trying to figure out how to solve this problem. So with that in mind, again, we're really happy to have you here to walk through us this. So if you will share with everyone listening, and all those folks will be listening on the back end, how do you get to where you are today in this lofty role at this amazing firm?
Well, I appreciate you asking that. And as you and I have been talking over the last couple of weeks, the question is timely. Yesterday was my 20-year anniversary to my beautiful bride, Sarah. And, when you have these milestone kind of moments, it absolutely just causes you to reflect. But the way I went about this business has changed massively. And so when I started in the latter 90s, that was the dot-com bubble, all of that stuff, it was all about making money. And then we went through this process where, everybody, wanted to have a CFP. And so we went down, the investment planning process, and then we went down the financial planning process. And about 10 years into my career, I kept asking myself, because originally I was going to go into psychology because I wanted to help people. And, I had a long sit down with my grandfather, and he said, hey, that's an interesting career choice. And there's a lot of great work that can be done that way. But, doing something with business and maybe psychology as a side may be a better avenue. And so I started exploring this idea of becoming a financial advisor. And then you recognize that half of our time is being spent with clients on being not so much the psychologist, but being their friend, being their confidant, being, the person that they trust the most. So about 10 years into my career, I recognized we need to do something differently. We're putting our firm in the center of these conversations. We're putting, our own way to make money in the center of this, or we're putting our own ego, that we're the smartest person in the room. And I started thinking about this as I became closer and closer to my clients. What if we put them in the middle? And if we put them in the middle, everything would kind of take care of itself. So what has led me ultimately to this point, to have our own firm, is this freedom to be able to put our clients in the center and build everything around them and not have any other pressures, any other mandates other than just taking care of who is actually paying us. And that's what's led to Undivided.
That's great. One of the takeaways I have from that, Gary, is this idea of you had a vision of your personal life and your professional life, and you've just done the things that you needed to do to get to that. So that's awesome. Great lesson there. Let me ask you this. From a lesson perspective, what would you suggest maybe is one lesson you would share with the listeners that maybe they could use in their lives or their work that they do or their callings that they all execute every day? What's one lesson you would share with them?
Perfect. Well, Colin, I know the people that you work with are very high achievers. I mean, they're focused on growing their business. I'm a firm believer in understanding now that whatever we put in our sights, whatever in that scope is what we are going to work relentlessly to hit. And it is so critical that we understand what's in that scope, because for a period of my life, what was in that scope was money. For a period of my life, what was in that scope was, my own ego, my own title, my own, abilities, whatever it is to prove my worth and what I could do. As soon as we changed this target to basically put our client in the center and built everything else around it, my ego went away. Money actually started, coming in faster because we're taking care of our audience. And what I'm constantly checking myself with is what is in that scope. And the moment it leads off and veers off from, what matters the most, which is our clients, that's when I know that, I'm tracking the wrong thing and I may end up hitting the wrong target. So just constantly reassessment of what's in that scope.
So do you have like a process you go through to reassess what's in that scope? Because so many people, we're like almost forced in today's world to think about money, as like the driver. Like what enabled you to get there? And do you have a process that's repeatable for our listeners to work from?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just reflection. You have to get away from the business and pull back and say, am I happy doing what I'm doing? Am I happy making what I'm making the way that I'm making it? The point of it is by putting the client in the center, you start to build everything around them. So back to, yes, I want to make money. I mean, I'm a capitalist. I love our industry. I want our clients to make money. But I'm making money because I'm solving clients' problems. I'm not making money because I'm selling something to them. So there's a distinction right there, that the one thing that every advisor can understand, if you want to provide value, walk in there with a problem-solving mindset, not with a selling mindset. And the key distinction is selling is I am selling you something. I can make money from this. I'm the smartest person in the room. A solving mindset walks in there with, why do you want to accomplish that? Tell me more about that. You ask so many questions that you get to the root of what it is. And if you can solve that problem, trust goes through the roof, the money will come, and that's how you build, a growing business in my mind. Heck, I learned something from you now. Instead of being a problem solver, be a problem listener, and then become a problem solver.
Yeah, boy, that's beautiful. Hey, we're going to wrap it up with that exact thought. Gary Baker, CEO of Undivided Wealth. For those of you who are looking for a financial planner who actually cares about the relationship above all else, Gary Baker's firm is like at the top of that list. I think the world of him as a human being and as a professional. And I thank everyone for joining us. And G, I'll talk to you soon.
See you, bud.